In my previous life, my husband cheated, and I chose to leave with nothing in order to gain custody of our son. However, my son believed I deliberately made him suffer with me, and he held a grudge. When I fell ill and needed emergency care, he chose to abandon treatment lying on the hospital bed. I listened as he listed all his grievances against me over the years. In this second life, I don't want this son anymore. I only want the money. Vera Fong, if you want the child, sign this divorce agreement. Otherwise, I will never grant you custody of our son. Kachin held the divorce agreement high, with an air of superiority. His expression was one of absolute confidence. All right, I replied, expressionlessly. He tried hard to conceal his inner joy. Handing me the pen, he said, I pitied you as a divorced woman, which is why I reluctantly gave you custody of our son. I cut him off. Who told you I wanted custody of our son? You don't want it? His face twisted in astonishment. No, I said calmly. You keep the son, the house, and savings go to me. In my past life, to secure custody of our son, I had shamelessly agreed to Cage outrageous demands, leaving with nothing but Axel Shin, having been a stay-at-home parent for years. The hardships of surviving penniless with a child are unimaginable. To raise Axel Shin, I've been like an endlessly spinning top, working around the clock without rest, cleaning, waiting tables, shining shoes, scrubbing toilets. I've done all kinds of dirty and exhausting jobs. Finally, after countless hardships, I managed to see Axel Shin graduate from university and land a job. But I ended up exhausting myself to the point of developing lung cancer. I was weeping bitterly for not being able to see my son get married and have children. Yet he was busy fing over his father and the mistress, showering them with filial devotion. On his deathbed, he pulled out my oxygen tube. With a vicious glare, he spat out, if you didn't have the ability, why did you fight for my custody? Do you have any idea how much suffering and scorn I've endured all these years because of you? Mom, I really hate your lack of self-awareness. How much better it would have been if you hadn't taken me away. Back then when I died, my eyes were open. I never expected that my son had resented me for so many years. Perhaps even heaven thought I lived too pitifully. So it gave me a chance to start over. Opening my eyes again, I found myself right on the day when Kachin and I were dividing our assets. Seeing that I didn't want custody of our son, Caden began guilt-tripping me. How can you be so heartless? You'd rather take the money in the house than your own son? I scoffed. Wasn't this your idea in the first place? Besides, after all we've been through as husband and wife, how could I bear to watch you reluctantly give me custody of our son? Or do you not want custody of your son? Either having been exposed by me, Kachin became furious out of humiliation. What nonsense are you talking? When did I ever say I didn't want custody of my son? Fine then. Custody of our son goes to you since he wants to maintain his hypocritical image. Then I certainly don't need to be polite with him, but giving me the house, car, and all the savings, he would never be willing to do that. Varong, how about this? You get custody of our son, and we split the assets 50-50. I let out a cold snort. I don't want the son, and I won't accept a penny less than my share of the assets. Otherwise, I paused before adding, forget. Yet I have evidence of your bigamy. Chin's affair was bad enough, but to flaunt his mistress as his true love and publicly pose as a couple everywhere was beyond the pale. In my past life, I held all the winning cards but threw them away for the sake of so-called mother-son affection. How foolish. Cage glared at me like a vicious wolf. In the end, all that remained was impotent rage.
I
Smashed everything in the house to pieces. You have 3 days to think it over. After that, I'll file a lawsuit with the evidence. After delivering the ultimatum, I picked up my phone and booked a hotel room. Every second I spend in this house makes me sick.
That
Evening, Caden came over with his son. Holding his son's hand, he asked me, "Do you really not want Axel anymore?" Still, trying to pin the blame on me, but I am no longer the Vera Fong I once was.
what?
Kind of talk is that? What do you mean? By saying I shouldn't take Axel?
Didn't.
You say Axel is your precious darling? How could I bear to take away your precious darling? Ever since our son became sensible, he has played the role of a loving father in front of the child. At every turn, I am the one who always ends up being the villain in everything. This planted a seed of hatred for me in my son's heart from a young age. Since you want to play the role of a loving father, then play it to the end. My son shot me a disdainful glance and said, "Fuck," as if I'd ever want to be like
You.
Dad, don't bother talking to her. I'm not going with her. Even though I had lived through a lifetime before, seeing my son look at me with such hostility still made my heart ache.
Cage.
Sean anxiously tugged at Axel's shin.
But
Dad left all the property to your mom. He was afraid you'd suffer if you
followed me.
How is that fair?
That
Money was all earned by my dad. You did nothing at home. So, why should you take the family's property? How can you have the nerve? I did nothing. I pointed at his clothes. Were any of your clothes cleaned by yourself? Was every meal at home cooked by itself? Did the toilet clean itself? Or did the trash magically walk to the bin? You're at it again.
The
Son's face was full of impatience.
my
Dad works so hard outside, and all you do is complain about the little chores at home. No wonder he went looking for someone else. If it were me, I couldn't
stand it either.
A 15-year-old son should have long learned the ability to distinguish right from wrong. Unfortunately, he inherited Caden's selfish and cold genes. I no longer wish to share my struggles with them, nor do I want to argue with them about who, between me and Caden, has given more.
I
Looked at them coldly.
either sign the
Divorce papers, or I'll file for divorce. Caden saw that I was unyielding, furious and exasperated. He lashed out at me. I've never met a woman as heartless as you. For a few measly scraps, you'd abandon your own child. Don't regret it when your son refuses to acknowledge you in the future. Axel Sean chimed in. When you're old, I won't take care of you unless you agree to leave with nothing. No wonder their father and son sharing the same blood. Their innate arrogance is truly identical.
don't
Worry. If you're willing, we can sign an agreement to sever ties right now.
I
Looked at them with a half smile. Shall we go?
seeing that tough tactics didn't
Work. Ken started playing the emotional card. Vera Fong, you've personally raised Axel for 15 years. Could you really bear to give him up?
I
Shrugged. Even after raising him myself.
for 15 years, it still can't compare to
The little time you casually spend amusing him. It seems the Shin family bloodline is too strong. Better he stays with you. After all this talk, it seems you really don't want him, huh? I heard Ivy Lou is pregnant. What's the matter? Now that your little lover is expecting, you're even willing to abandon your son? You're talking nonsense. When did I ever say I didn't want Axel? Cage hurriedly interrupted me in front of his son.
he
Certainly didn't want his carefully maintained image as a good father for over a decade to crumble. This works out
just fine.
saves me the trouble of
having to deal with them. I opened the door to see them out. Then, don't disturb me anymore. Sign the divorce papers if you've made up your mind. If not, we'll see each other in court for me. Then, just live with your money. Don't come crying and begging me when you're old and regret it. As he was leaving, my son didn't forget to throw harsh words at me. In the past, this would have left me heartbroken and struggling to breathe. When I stopped caring, those hurtful barbs were nothing more than empty threats to me. After 3 days, I took the evidence to the court. Upon receiving the summons, Cage Sean angrily signed the divorce agreement. Seeing that my goal was achieved, I no longer gave him a hard time. Having lived a second life, I only want to live my own days well, rather than wasting time on insignificant people. On the day of getting the divorce certificate, Cadshin was dressed in a well-pressed suit. Ivy Lou held his arm, dressed in a red gown. Axel Shin followed behind, carrying Ivy Lou's bag. When they saw me, their faces were full of smugness. Ivy Lou slightly protruded her barely noticeable baby bump. She whispered softly in my ear, Sister Fong, thank you for giving me such a wonderful husband and son. I'll take good care of them for you, I said coldly. Just trash. If you like them, take them. Don't hold back. TCH. Keep pretending. You've spent the last decade revolving around your husband and kids. I don't believe you're really that indifferent. Seeing no trace of sadness on my face, she was the first to lose her composure. How ridiculous. I stood right in front of her with a smile. I asked, what does it matter to you whether I'm upset or not? More importantly, Cage Sean and I aren't even divorced yet. So tell me, what gives you the right to be holding his arm? My voice was neither too loud nor too soft, just loud enough for those nearby to hear, whether they came for divorce or marriage. Everyone was shocked by their shameless actions. In an instant, scornful glances shot toward them from all directions. Cadden nervously pulled me aside and said, stop with the nonsense and let's get the paperwork done quickly. After we got our divorce certificate, he and Ivy Lou turned around and joined the queue at the marriage registration office. The onlookers who had stayed to watch the drama were once again left utterly stunned. I stared at the red ID card. I whispered to myself, Vera Fong, congratulations on your rebirth. Right. After the divorce, I listed my house with a real estate agent. After counting the savings in my cards, I bought a ready-made apartment in the new district. The new district boasts a beautiful environment and fresh air. More importantly, many young people come here to rent apartments. However, the infrastructure is not yet fully developed. Supermarkets and restaurants are still being gradually built, which presents many opportunities for people to make their fortunes. As long as you're willing to work hard, you're bound to strike gold. After surveying the area, I found there are plenty of restaurants here, but only a handful of fruit shops. Moreover, they're all quite small with very limited variety. There are many young people here, and despite the economic downturn, they're still quite willing to spend on food. I rented a storefront, opened a fruit shop, wide variety, affordable prices. More importantly, the service is excellent. No matter how much you buy, as long as there's a need, we can wash and cut it for you. It quickly won the favor of many young people. Moreover, we promised that the fruits bought from our store will always be the freshest. All fruits are sold at discounted prices in the evening. This way, another group of older customers was accumulated. While I was passionately busy with my career, Cage Shin was busy embracing his beautiful wife. After having a son, they
brazenly prepared to hold a belated wedding ceremony. I don't know what came over them, but they actually sent me a wedding invitation. I didn't want to go. Who knew Ivy Lou would provoke me with a message? Fange, you wouldn't dare to come, would you? Without your blessing. I'd think you still can't let go of old
Shen.
Fine, I'll go. If they're shameless, what do I have to fear? During these months after the divorce, I no longer have to go hysterical over homework with Axel Shin. Every day, no. Need to guess whether Cad Shin is fooling around and be suspicious. Every day, I focus all my energy on the shop. Not only have I lost weight, but my complexion has also improved a lot.
In
the past, I couldn't bear to eat well or dress nicely for the sake of this
family.
My clothes were either outdated styles from years ago or cheap items, costing just 10 or 20 yuan from street
stores.
Having lived a second life, I have no attachments and no longer wish to compromise myself. Now my wardrobe is filled with the latest fashion trends. As the saying goes, clothes make the man. In less than a year, I look at least 10 years younger. Their wedding was grand. Ivy Lou is indeed the apple of
Kageshin's eye.
The wedding was much more grand and impressive than when we got married. I was wearing a beige qipao. It made my skin appear fair and translucent. My curvaceous figure was on full display. I was carrying the latest LV bag that I had previously been reluctant to buy. I walked straight toward Cade Sean and Ivy Lou, who were greeting guests at the entrance.
When
they saw me, their jaws dropped wide, enough to fit an egg. Cage couldn't help but say, "Vera Fong, you've changed so much from before." Ivy Lau's face immediately darkened upon hearing this. I smiled and replied, "I feel refreshed after leaving the trash behind." Miss Lou, however, looks a bit pale.
You
should take better care of yourself. After all, cheating is either 0 times or countless times. After saying this, I left the two with unpleasant expressions and went inside to find a seat.
Our
mutual friends were all astonished to see me. Oh my God, Vera Fong is looking younger and younger. Seriously, what kind of magical elixir has she been taking? When they found out I was invited by Ivy Lou, they all took pleasure in my misfortune. TSK.
Cage.
Sean's new wife must be fuming, seeing Vera Fong like this. Old Sean really has poor judgment, throwing away the watermelon to pick up sesame seeds. Back in the day, Vera Fong was the belle of our school. What a steal for that kid, Caden, who never expected he wouldn't cherish her. The environment was noisy and people inevitably spoke a bit louder in such surroundings. As luck would have it, every word fell right into the ears of Cage Shin and Ivy Lou. On their wedding day, Ivy Lou had no choice but to swallow her anger. I felt a sense of satisfaction watching her embarrassed expression during the wedding ceremony. An additional segment was added where Axel Shin toasted the newlyweds. Ivy's eyes gleamed with triumph as she stared at me, listening to Axel Shin pledge. From now on, I have only one mother, and that is Mom Ivy Lou. Friends patted me on the shoulder, saying, "The child is still young," and told me not to take it to heart. I shook my head. As for that ungrateful wretch, I long ago lost all feelings for him. I only hope he remembers what he said today and doesn't come looking for me again. After the wedding ended, I prepared to leave, but Kadshin blocked my way. He gazed at me with longing. "Vera, you look so beautiful today. I was wrong about what happened before. You can come to me anytime if you need anything in the future." I frowned impatiently. "No thanks. I won't have any reason to look for you in the future.
My
Attitude was so clear,
yet he
stubbornly continued to block my path. What exactly do you mean? I looked at him with annoyance. Vera, if you don't mind, we can keep in touch more often. Actually, I still have feelings for you.
Yeah, right.
A dog will always return to its vomit. These words happened to be overheard by Ivy Lou, who had just caught
Up.
Kachin, what did you say? Dare to repeat that. A woman who has just given birth is naturally sensitive, especially since Kachin is a repeat offender.
The
two newlyweds who had just joyfully taken their vows were now fighting each other. I looked at Kachin, his face covered in bloody scratches. A mocking smile appeared on my face. Kachin felt he had lost face. Losing his temper, he slapped Ivy Lou to the ground. I couldn't be bothered to watch them fight like dogs, so I hailed a cab and left. Just as I got home, I received a phone call. Axel yelled at me over the phone. Vera, Fong, how can you be so shameless?
my
Dad has already divorced you, yet you still come to ruin his relationship with Ivy Lou's mom. You just can't stand to see us doing better than you. Hearing my son curse me by my full name, my heart had long grown numb. In my past life, he even pulled out my oxygen tube. What do a few insults matter now? You'd better get your facts straight. Was it me who wanted to go? Or was it your precious Ivy Lou's mom who invited me?
besides.
Their fight is because your dad can't keep his eyes off other women while still in a relationship. It has nothing
To do with me.
After saying that, I hung up the phone. During this period, the foot traffic in the new district has doubled, and my fruit shop has become very popular. In less than a year, 3 branch stores were opened. Although I hired several store managers, I'm still so busy that my feet hardly touch the
Ground.
After that day, Kachin clung to
Me like a dog.
It was either calls or texts. After I blocked him, he came back with new numbers. If it weren't for needing to contact clients and suppliers, I'd have changed my number again in a heartbeat. I still haven't dealt with this trouble named Kachin. Axel came looking for me again.
The
Once bright-eyed and clear-featured child is now just greasy. As soon as he saw me, he cried and hugged my leg.
Mom.
I've missed you so much. I took a few steps back and asked him, who's your mom? Mom, it's me, Axel. Don't you recognize me? Of course I recognized him. How could I not know the child I carried for 10 months and raised for 2 lifetimes? I scoffed. Isn't your mom only Ivy Lou?
I don't have the right to
Be called your mom, he snorted coldly. Don't mention her to me. Turns out all her kindness toward me was just an act. She never cooks for me, forcing me to eat junk food outside, which has made me so fat that no one wants to hang out with me anymore. She wouldn't let me do my homework and bought me a game console instead. Now I've been kicked out of the advanced class. She doesn't even wash my clothes or clean the house.
And she
Makes me babysit while she goes back to her room to sleep. Mom, I realize you're still the one who treats me best.
Can I
Stay with you? No, I refused outright. In my past life, he blamed me for being too controlling, not allowing him to drink soda, eat burgers, or any fried
food?
He felt I robbed him of his childhood happiness. But what he didn't know was that his grandfather died young from diabetic complications, and diabetes has a strong genetic component. He blames me for making him study every day, leaving him no freedom.
Yet
When he reads, I sit right beside him, with a book in hand, keeping him
company
during his cram school days. Whether in the bitter cold of winter or The scorching heat of summer, I personally drove him to and from classes, even when he was job hunting. Later, it was me who swallowed my pride and begged an old classmate to get him into a prestigious company. In the end, it turned out that I was the one with controlling tendencies, ruining half his life. This time, I don't want to do those thankless tasks anymore. Let him go and you'll be freeing yourself too. How can you be so selfish? He hysterically
questioned me.
I'm your son. How could you bear to watch me suffer and struggle with someone else? How can you be so selfish? Is this how a mother should act? I glanced at him indifferently. Your custody is now in your father's hands, and he will raise you well. Besides, you're not a child anymore. It's time to learn how to cook and do laundry. No one is born knowing how to do these things. He spat on the ground. All this talk just shows how selfish you are. You took all the family's money and left me to fend for myself. If you hadn't heartlessly taken every last penny, would Dad and Ivy Lou be fighting every
day?
It's all your fault, Vera Fong. You'll regret treating me like this.
He
hurled the vicious words and stormed off. Watching his retreating figure, I truly felt regret. Regret for not seeing his true nature sooner. I never expected that the way Axel Shin would make me regret was by ruining his own future. The teacher called me saying Axel Shin insisted on dropping out of school.
I
forwarded Shin's phone number to the
teacher.
I'm divorced from his father. From now on, everything concerning him is his father's responsibility.
The
teacher on the other end of the line
hesitated to speak.
Mrs. Axel, your child is going through a rebellious
phase.
He still needs his mother's care and attention. I smiled and replied, Yes, Professor Le, but Axel Shan said his mother is only his father's newly married stepmother. I think his father would be happy to give you his new wife's phone number. From now on, don't come to me for anything. Ignoring her unfinished words, I pressed to hang up and immediately blocked her. The recent messes keep piling up. Not long ago, Ken also came looking for me, giving flowers and bags as gifts.
It seems I
can't stay in this city any longer. Lately, there have been more and more imitators, and our shop no longer has an advantage. I plan to sell everything and move to a place with beautiful mountains and clear waters to live. Only 2 shops had been transferred when Ivu also came, knocking. She held a loudspeaker in one hand and cradled a child in the other. Vera Fong, you shameless woman. My child isn't even a year old yet.
How could you
bear to seduce my husband? Vera Fong, I beg you, return my husband to me. Don't knowingly be the other woman.
The
loudspeaker's voice looped endlessly outside the shop. It drew a crowd of onlookers who had no idea what was going
on.
They surrounded my shop, layer upon layer, each one holding up their phones, eager to capture a trending news story. Some hot-headed spectators blindly sided with Ivy Lou without understanding the situation. All sorts of filthy language spewed out. I wondered how a woman like her could manage to open so many stores. Turns out it was all thanks to that kind of thing. How shameless. Always dressing up so flashy, constantly scheming to seduce men. A woman like this deserves to be drowned in a pond. Such people deserve to be struck by lightning. The original wife's child can't even walk yet, and she's truly inhuman. Everyone was chiming in with their own comments. They didn't care at all about the truth of the matter. I was escorted out by the store staff, calmly taking out the phone to call the police. Hello, officer. Someone has slandered and spread rumors, seriously violating my right to reputation. The onlookers were furious. You think you're justified for being the other woman?
How dare you call the police? Exactly. How do you have the nerve to call the police after seducing my husband with others backing her up? Ivy Lou grew even more confident. It's not just her, Ivy Lou, who has a mouth. I have one too. On what grounds? I sneered at her. Dare you tell me who your husband is? He's my ex-husband. So, what? You're already divorced. A good ex should be like the dead. Why are you still entangled with him? Ivy Lou continued to provoke recklessly, oblivious to the consequences. When we got our divorce certificate, the baby in your belly was already 3 months old. By the time I found out about you and he had already been living as husband and wife for 3 years. Between the two of us, who was the one who knowingly became the other woman? Faced with my questioning, Ivy Lou clearly lacked confidence. She only clung to the argument that I shouldn't have kept with Caden. I take out my phone. She showed it to everyone around her. So the scumbag wants to get back together. Boss. Fong hasn't replied to any of them. Exactly. They're all in the blacklist. That scumbag is so shameless. Only realizing his ex-wife was good after the divorce. Third sister, how dare you come and make a scene at Boss Fang's place? Who else can you blame for ending up with a cheating man? Exactly. How dare they accuse Boss Fong of knowingly being the other woman? Public opinion is a double-edged sword. Don't wield it lightly unless you're absolutely certain. Otherwise, you'll end up like Ivy Lou. Hoist with your own petard. Before long, the police arrived. We were all taken to the police station together. Cage rushed over after receiving the news. He first ran to my side. Finger, are you okay? I'm sorry. It's my fault again for dragging you into this. Standing on the other side, Ivy Lou watched Cage Shin's actions, with tears welling up in her eyes. At this moment, the child began to cry. She had no choice but to lift her clothes to breastfeed the child. I suddenly felt a pang of pity for her. So young, yet she had staked her reputation and happiness on such a selfish man. After feeding the baby, she walked up to Kachin. Her eyes were filled with resentment and despair. You said she was the one who reached out to you. Then why does her phone show all the messages you sent her? And where have you been all these days? Why are you treating me like this? In the past, I followed you without any status, enduring cold looks and ridicule. Now that we're finally together, why don't you cherish me? Say it. Didn't you say I was the one you loved most? Why are you treating me like this? Faced with Ivy Lou's questioning, Caden showed not a trace of remorse. All that remained was an expression of utter impatience. Had I known marriage would turn you into this, I'd have never married you, even if beaten to death. Have you even looked at yourself lately? Feel your waist. Even a bucket isn't that wide. And your face, it's like a breeding ground for flies. Before marriage, you weren't this paranoid every single day either. I let out a bitter laugh, as if seeing how he must have once criticized me in the same way. Ivy Lou is indeed shameless, but the most shameless one is the man before us. A woman bore him children, sacrificing her beauty and health. In the end, she became the very weapon he used to attack her. How pitiful it is to marry such a man. Ivy Lou held her child and laughed heartily. I should have known. How could a man who constantly badmouths his wife in front of his mistress ever have true love? I should have realized I'd end up like this too. She walked up to me holding her child and bowed deeply. Sister Fong, I'm sorry. Only today have I realized how terribly wrong I was. I deserve this fate. It's my own fault. I was foolish. Caden, let's get a divorce.
She left these words behind and walked away in a daze holding her child. The police officer asked me, Miss Fong, what about the defamation case? I sighed softly and said, let it go. After leaving the police station, Ken followed behind me. Vera, after the divorce, I realized that you are actually the better one. You have no idea how outrageous Ivy Lou is. She can't even cook and just orders takeout every day. She doesn't even care about Axel's studies. Just glued to her phone watching dramas all day. The trash piles up like a mountain and she won't take it out. I'm exhausted after a full day of work, and she actually expects me to help with the kids. Can you believe how selfish she is? Listening to his endless complaints, I stopped in my tracks. How did you used to criticize me? Let me guess. All you do every day is revolve around the kids, never bothering to take care of yourself. I feel embarrassed to take you out. No femininity at all. Even sleeping with you at night disgusts me. With every word I spoke, his face grew paler. Did I guess everything right? Vera, I'll change from now on after all the turmoil. This year, I've realized that a simple, peaceful life is the best. Can we start over at this point? How does he even have the nerve to think I'd get back together with him? But if there's no mirror at home, there's always urine, right? Have you even looked at yourself? You demand a woman to be both stunningly beautiful and frugally domestic. But have you ever weighed your own worth? Even if such a woman existed, would you even deserve her? I have both money and looks now. Why should I go back to being your housemaid? Kachin's face was full of panic. He rushed forward and hugged me tightly. Vera, you're just saying these things in anger. Right. Didn't you become so beautiful just to win me back? I know I was wrong. Can we stop this now? I raised my leg, and he let go in pain. Crouching down, I looked down at him with disdain. When will you ever get rid of that self-righteous attitude of yours? Why must a woman's grooming and dressing up be for some man? I've become more beautiful because free from the troubles of your family's mess. I naturally regained my youth. If dressing up is to please someone, it's certainly not you. It can only be myself. Your actions just now already constitute personal violation. If there's a next time, I won't hesitate to have you sent away. With a contemptuous glance, I turned and walked away. Kachin was left crouching on the ground, in despair, frantically tearing at his own hair. The next time I heard about Kachin was in the news. His wife had turned him into the chairman, exposing his under-the-table deals for kickbacks and leaking the company's bottom line prices. A righteous act of sacrificing family ties for justice. No wonder he so easily gave me all the assets during the divorce. I thought he was afraid I would sue him for bigamy. Turns out he didn't even care about such a small amount of money. Ivy Lou and he were originally in the same department, so the evidence submitted was clear and compelling. After being sued, not only was all his property used to compensate the company, but he also happily received a 3-year silver bracelet prison sentence. This way, the custody of Axel Shin is back in my hands. As soon as he arrived, he started ordering dishes in his usual superior manner. Mom, I want braised pork balls, oil, braised prawns, marinated duck wings, and crystal dumplings for lunch today. Without even looking up from the book in my hands, I replied, if you want to eat, make it yourself. How can you be like this now? You won't even cook for me. Are you even fit to be my mom? I'm not worthy. You should go find Ivu and see if she wants you. The duck is cooked, but its beak is still hard.
If
You had been like this earlier, my dad wouldn't have gone looking for Ivy Lou. Our family could have been happy and harmonious. Now you've caused my dad to go to prison and you still have the nerve to treat me like this. I must have had the worst luck in 8 lifetimes.
I
Chuckled lightly. Then endure it for 2 more years. When you turn 18, you can go wherever you want. He suffered a setback and started threatening me with his education. If you keep this up, I won't go to school anymore. Oh, that's your own business. You're not going to school for my benefit. Seeing that I didn't
care about anything.
Axelson's anger ultimately festered inside him. Angrily, went to the fridge and grabbed a bowl of instant noodles. Half a month later, he stopped being picky and ate whatever I
Made.
After eating, he also had to wash the dishes. Otherwise, he'd have to use his dirty bowl for the next meal.
The
Clothes I changed out of new to wash
themselves.
Otherwise, I'd have to wear dirty clothes to school. In the end, he'd only embarrass himself. Even the threats about not going to school were taken back without supervision.
I
Actually started studying hard.
But I
Had wasted too much time before, so I only got into an ordinary high school in the end. In my previous life, I spent both money and effort. I did everything I could to get him into a top-tier high
school.
He thought I was forcing him to give up all his personal freedom just to save my own face after entering high
School.
The academic pressure became intense. He requested to live on campus. Are you sure about this? Well, it's not. Like Mom likes me anyway. I looked up at him, feeling an indescribable ache in my heart. In this life, he has indeed changed a lot. Yet the cruel expression he wore when he pulled out my breathing tube in the previous life is still vivid in my mind. I can't wholeheartedly pretend that nothing ever happened.
All
Right, since you've made up your mind, go ahead and live on campus. I'll give you the standard living expenses. Study hard at school. After all, this is your own matter, and it concerns your future. I repeated the necessary reminders once.
more.
Providing financial support when needed is the last thing I can do for this tenuous mother-son bond. I thought Axelsson would have learned to grow up after going through so much. Who would have thought that just in his second year of high school he would follow others to a bar after being caught by the principal? Not only did he show no remorse, but he also got into an argument with the principal. In a fit of anger, the principal decided to expel him when I was called to the teacher's office. He still showed no remorse. After giving me a disdainful glance, he turned his gaze to the window with an air of defiance, as if no one could do anything to him. I bowed to the principal. I'm sorry, Principal Chun. It's Axelsson's fault. Then he said to Axelsson, go pack your things and
Leave.
Axelsson was stunned, his face full of disbelief. What did you say? They're expelling me.
If you make a
Mistake, you must accept the punishment. Is there any problem with that?
Tears
Welled up in his eyes. Are you even my mom? Other parents begged the school for another chance. Why are you so cold to
me?
Why am I so unlucky to be your son? I scoffed lightly.
Didn't you say long
ago that I wasn't worthy of being your mom? You even said Ivu was your only mother. How could you forget that in just 2 or 3 years? He muttered softly. Why do you hold such a grudge? I was
just a kid back then.
Had I not lived 2 lives, I would have advised myself the same way. He was just a child after all. But when he pulled out my oxygen tube, he was already a fully aware adult. I've told you before, studying is for your own sake, and you must take responsibility for your actions. If you still wish to continue your education, apologize to the principal yourself and beg for another chance. Otherwise, you may as well drop out, but you'll be an adult soon. I'll only look after you for another 6 months at most. After that, you'll have to support yourself. After a long silence, Axelson finally lowered his proud head. The principal had only wanted to humble him, not truly intending to give up on him. He was made to write a 2,000-word self-criticism and sign a pledge. After seeing that I completely ignored him, Axelson started to focus all his energy on studying. Once a person realizes they have no one to rely on, their growth accelerates rapidly. He was naturally intelligent and had a solid foundation to begin with, although he didn't get into a top-tier prestigious university like in his previous life, but the outcome wasn't too bad either. After the scores came out, he fell ill. When he woke up, his gaze at me was complicated and full of shame. He kept murmuring from time to time, "How is this different from before?" I looked at his childish face, bearing a mature expression, and suddenly a guess arose in my heart. That is, he had also been reborn. Before leaving for school, I discussed living expenses with him. He looked at me, hesitating to speak. Suddenly he said, "Mom, I'm sorry." I smiled but didn't say anything. I thought he must know. I've been reborn, too. This is fine. Why should I bear the painful memories and also suffer his misunderstanding? He only provided 1 semester's living expenses. The remaining years were entirely on me. In my junior year, I passed through his city for a project and went to see him. As he was leaving, he said to me, "Mom, I'm sorry for the past and thank you. Only through comparison can one understand what is right." I didn't casually tell him it was nothing. Instead, I sincerely said to him, "You must walk your own path in life." Well, after saving enough for my retirement, I opened a guest house in Yunnan. Every day, I tend to flowers and play with cats, listening to travelers from all over share their stories. In the end, I always advise them, don't overthink it, no matter when. Always prioritize yourself. Everything else will eventually fade into trivial matters with the passage of time. Cage came to see me when he got out. He said that while inside, he got into a fight where he was hit in the head and had a dream. In the dream, when we divorced, I chose to leave with nothing just to get custody of Axelson to support Axelson. I worked myself to the bone at a young age and ended up with a body full of illnesses. I smiled and asked the receptionist to brew him a cup of pu. Finish your tea and leave quickly. How can you talk such nonsense in broad daylight? How could I possibly be that foolish? Only after he left did I realize my face was wet with tears. The receptionist handed me a tissue. "Sister Fong, why are you crying?" I wiped the tears from my face and smiled. "Happy? What's got you so happy? Share it with me too." I watched the wind chime sway in the breeze. The cat curled up on the recliner. A beam of sunlight falls right at my feet, softly whispered like a rebirth.